Dr. Wheelo, perhaps the most overlooked and honestly underrated villain out of all the original 13 DBZ films. Being the first antagonist to start the whole steal Goku's body trope way before Goku Black or even Captain Ginyu by quite a few months. As well as the first mad scientist to appear years before Dr. Gero's eventual arrival. Then finally the first scientist to rely on biotechnology before Cell's creation, or the abomination that is Bio Broly. The crazed doctor is one enemy who should deserve some props for establishing several concepts early within the franchise. While he failed to achieve his goal of retaining a powerful body, his list of accomplishments, especially for Dragon Ball standards, is impressive given that he had little awareness of the cast compared to Dr. Gero's grudge. So why not find out what he can do? Exactly how strong is Dr. Wheelo? But before that, let's get into my favorite part of the video, and that's me having to explain how to scale movie characters. I've already talked about this topic too many times, so I'll cut to the chase. No, I will not scale Dr. Wheelo to the anime, manga, or previous movie villains of Dragon Ball. I think people know at this point, but most of the early DBZ movies don't fit into the anime timeline consistently. Daizenshuu 6 states movie 2 should take place around the Namek saga, but then acknowledges the inconsistency of Gohan being on Earth rather than on Namek. Secondly, Piccolo is alive in the movie, which is weird considering that he should be dead around this time until late Namek saga. What's more bizarre is that in the movie, during Gohan's dream sequence, there is a brief shot of Piccolo protecting Gohan, which is the moment Piccolo should have died from Nappa's attack, but didn't. Another problem when it comes to placing this movie into the anime continuity was that Dr. Kochin, Dr. Wheelo's assistant, summoned Shenron. The reason why this is important is that Goku was resurrected to face the Saiyans and the Dragon Balls cannot be used for another year, meaning a whole year had to pass for Dr. Kochin to grant his wish. This coincides with one statement made by Koyama, the scriptwriter, that the movies are on a time lag despite trying to write the films based on the anime continuity. The fact that it contradicts the anime and manga, power scaling two different continuities is not applicable. People like to assume that the cast should still be as strong as they are in the original story. However, just because perhaps similar events may have played out before the movie occurs, does not mean we can objectively prove that similar feats were performed. An example, can you prove Goku dodged meteors traveling hundreds of times faster than light in base form using the manga only? No, that was anime exclusive. Can you prove Goku traveled a universal to a possibly infinite size otherworld using the manga only? No, that was anime filler. Can you prove Buhan nearly destroyed the entire universe just by shouting using manga only? No, that was anime only. Can you prove Zamasu became so strong he merged with the very space-time continuum using the manga only? No, that was anime continuity only. You get the idea. Just because both anime and manga play out similar events doesn't mean they scale exactly 1-to-1. This is why it's mostly headcanon to assume Dead Zone had to happen at all for movie 2 to occur or any known feats within the anime. I'll repeat again, we literally cannot prove what feats were performed before movie 2's self-contained continuity. And yes, Toriyama clearly said the movies are in different dimensions. Koyama says his opinions are official since he also admits and concedes the inconsistencies between movie and anime events. Likewise, Koyama acknowledges there being a game continuity for events like Plan to Eradicate the Saiyans to be a self-contained story, despite including some movie villains. Once again, proving there is a multiverse that allows each film to be in their own separate continuity and therefore scaling. I do my best to add different explanations for each new video just to not sound like a broken record, but I hope that explains movie scaling in a nutshell. Trust me, once you find out what Dr. Wheelo can do, you'll realize that the power levels in this film do not add up to the anime. So let's stop wasting time and see why he's perhaps an underrated, dangerous opponent. After Dr. Kochin successfully granted his wish from Shenron, Dr. Uryu, or Wheelo, is freed from his ice imprisonment within his fortress. Dr. Wheelo immediately initiates his plan to find the strongest fighter and hopes to steal their body for his evil schemes of ruling the world. The first victim is Piccolo. Later, Dr. Kochin tests Master Roshi's ability as a potential candidate by sending his Biomen, possessing power levels of 1000 each, according to the movie pamphlet. Master Roshi takes them out easily, despite the same pamphlet placing Roshi's power level at 350. So for those wondering if power levels are reliable, the answer is a technical yes, but it won't correlate to anime or manga power levels due to different continuity. So it's best to take them with a grain of salt for movie scaling only. Just know that Roshi's supposed power level is possible if he's suppressed, and when serious, he's above the 1k benchmark if he can defeat the Biomen. After threatening Bulma's life, Roshi is challenged to face off against Wheelo's Bio Warriors, and ultimately lose to all of them, possessing power levels well over 4000, meaning they are potentially 4 times stronger than Master Roshi. Trust me, these numbers will sorta be useful later. After the fight, we then hear some crazy things Dr. Wheelo has done prior. According to Dr. Kochin, as a means to get revenge on humanity, they've been attacking several places across the world, turning them into deserts. We see the destruction of a woodland area near South City, where all trees are nearly vaporized. One important detail was the fact that the buildings remain intact after Wheelo's attack. All building materials like concrete have a melting point, and the fact that Wheelo's blast didn't vaporize such structures give us a specific range to his destructive capacity. The United Nations of Food and Agriculture Organization defines a forest to reach the bare minimum of 1.24 acres of land, or over 5,000 square meters. Just barely about the size of a standard American football field. And for those wondering, yes, a forest can be an alternate term to define a woodland, so this can be a lowballed reference to calc this feat. Now, there are too many trees to go into nerdy detail, but the point is that each tree has a limit as to how much pressure it can withstand, i.e. PSI, and therefore how much joules of energy it takes to destroy one. By finding the overall range of what trees can handle from its lowest to highest, we then determine how many trees can fit within an acre to find an overall amount of energy output. For some context as to how impressive it is to completely fragment most standard trees into pieces requires around 50 kilograms of TNT or 10 to the 7 joules of energy. Enough power to destroy a small house. Now imagine having to destroy at least 100 to max 900 trees within the defined acre size. Overall, the end calc would average at around 11 through 100 tons of TNT, or 10 to the 10 through 11 joules of energy, reaching city block level for destroying an entire forest. Naturally, could be higher if Dr. Wheelo destroyed more than 1 acre and depending on the trees as well. Although, as I pointed out, he failed to melt the buildings. Most structures are made out of concrete, and when you get the average size, density, and mass of standard buildings while including the melting point of concrete, it will calc at around 1 kiloton of TNT or 10 to the 12 joules of energy, reaching small town level. Meaning that even when averaging out this feat, Dr. Wheelo would have been casually throwing around multi-city block level attacks and naturally making several locations into barren wastelands. The reason why this would be a casual attack is that Dr. Kochin implies they are capable of turning the entire world into a desert if they wanted to. I'll get to that in a bit since we've gone over enough for now. Goku would then arrive to save Roshi and Bulma, having to battle the Bio Warriors in the process. Despite having a power level of 10,000, Goku did have some trouble with them due to their unique abilities, though eventually he takes them out thanks to Kaioken. Still impressive for the Bio Warriors given the gap between power levels. Before Wheelo makes his big entrance, Goku is joined by Krillin and Gohan, where they would have to face a mind-controlled Piccolo. Gohan is unable to regain Piccolo's senses as Goku holds back from having to kill him. In rage, Gohan nearly destroyed his surroundings to the point that Dr. Wheelo was forced to throw out his own Ki shockwave at Gohan, causing a massive crater right under Gohan. Once again, an impressive feat given that Gohan's power level is 6,000 in this continuity, and Dr. Wheelo casually outdid a character's power on a similar level to that of his Bio Warriors. Also, I know this is a side tangent, but sadly it is important to Wheelo's scaling. You see, Krillin tries to apprehend Dr. Kochin, but he catches him by surprise, unleashing his literal handgun on Krillin. I'm not joking about this part, but according to the guidebooks, Dr. Kochin's arm gun is referred to as a Vulcan cannon, with another guy labeling it as a Gatling gun. It's based on the real-life M61 Vulcan rotary Gatling cannon, which is unironically a viable method to determine the cast's combat speed. The Vulcan cannon peaks at over 1,000 meters per second for its muzzle velocity, meaning it can shoot bullets traveling at over 3 times the speed of sound, even if it was compared to a standard Gatling gun, in which most variants go no lower than 700 to max 900 meters per second, will ultimately reach over Mach 2 in speed. I bring this up because Krillin was outpacing and dodging every bullet despite getting caught off guard by it. Since Krillin is given a power level of 5,000 on the movie pamphlet, that means every character relative to or above him would also have a similar reaction and combat speed. It's both funny and stupid to think Krillin was genuinely concerned about possibly getting damaged by such a weapon when he should be able to tank machine gun rounds as a child. After all the fiasco with Piccolo has settled, Dr. Wheelo snaps due to his lack of screen time and gets into the fight, challenging the entire cast on his own. He outright tanks the Turtle School's Kamehameha blast like it was nothing, and casually takes out Krillin and Roshi in the process. He also hilariously slapped Piccolo away like a bug. The movie pamphlet gives Dr. Wheelo an official power level of 39,000, explaining why he can casually take out Piccolo with a power level of 8,200. As such, Goku had no choice but to rely on Kaioken times 3 to stand a chance, having to rely on raw speed to catch Dr. Wheelo off guard and only managed to separate his arms due to targeting his joints. Even when throwing out his strongest Kamehameha attack, Dr. Wheelo nearly overpowered Goku's attack, having no choice but to go Kaioken times 4 just to outdo Dr. Wheelo's attack. Also worth noting that his blast was so strong enough to destroy a good chunk of Dr. Wheelo's fortress, kinda supporting the whole lowballed city block scaling since the fortress is huge. Despite taking Goku's hit directly, Dr. Wheelo survives with little damage. This makes sense as Goku, even at Kaioken times 4, would only be a 1,000 power level difference from Wheelo's max. That's barely a 3% difference. The crazy thing is that only then Wheelo says he'll go all out and destroy Earth, meaning he was still holding back throughout the fight. As a last resort, Goku opted to use the Spirit Bomb, but before he could successfully use it, Dr. Wheelo managed to impressively counter it and threw several ki blasts from presumably Earth's stratosphere and hit Goku before he could react. The stratosphere reaches a minimum of 5,000 to 2,000 meters above ground level, and Dr. Wheelo casually hits the ground in literal seconds, easily placing his attack speed at over 10 times to less than 60 times Mach speed. This wouldn't be inconsistent either, as both Gohan and Piccolo fly out to space and reach such distance in seconds. We know that any object to counter Earth's escape velocity would at bare minimum have to reach 11,200 meters per second, clocking at 32 times Mach speed, as further proven by Krillin, who appeared out of the max altitude of clouds and also reached Dr. Wheelo's location in seconds before he got pimp slapped. Even based on power levels, Dr. Wheelo would be nearly 8 times stronger and faster than Krillin's lowball 2 through 3 times Mach combat speed, also validating this range of speed. Thanks to the teamwork of Piccolo, Gohan, and Krillin, Goku managed enough time to retain a Spirit Bomb, successfully countering Dr. Wheelo's ultimate attack that nearly destroys Earth, known as Planet Geyser in the DBZ video games. Dr. Wheelo's final move can be scaled in a few ways. As stated by Dr. Kochin, this attack can at bare minimum turn the entire world into a desert. As a reminder, the crust or surface of Earth is only 1% the mass of Earth, yet would reach 510 trillion square meters. So imagine Dr. Wheelo going from destroying a single acre or 5,000 square meters to now doing that 100 billion times over. To destroy the entire 1% volume of Earth would at least calc at 10 to the 25 joules of energy or multi-continental level of power. Now obviously this is based on simply turning the world into a desert, but it wouldn't be inconsistent if he outright destroyed the entire world, meaning he could reach 10 to the 32 joules or the baseline planet level of power, since that is the required amount to undo Earth's gravitational binding energy that holds it together. And for those who really want to hype up Dr. Wheelo, we can say that as absolute max, he can destroy Earth on a subatomic level, ultimately peaking at 10 to the 41 joules or small star plus level. I went over this in my Android 13 video, which you can check out later if you like. The basic explanation is that the power to break an object into pieces and subatomic destroy an object is a massive gap, by a literal 1 billion times difference for most forms of material existing on Earth. At the end of the day, despite Dr. Wheelo's max power, the Spirit Bomb overpowered his attack and eradicated the Doctor into nothing. And trust me, that trope isn't going away anytime soon. Just when you think he never comes back, merchandising always has a way to bring back the most obscure characters. Transitioning to the games, according to his bio within the Tenkaichi series, states once again that Dr. Wheelo has the power to destroy Earth. This makes sense as both Daizenshuu 6 and 7 confirm that he has the power to destroy Earth as opposed to simply turning it into a desert. From there, we go to Extreme Butoden, where he makes a minor cameo. The simplified context is that Omega Shenron within an alternate continuity returns and distorts reality, allowing past enemies to return to the living. Goku must deal with all these returning enemies as he soon faces Cell again. Turns out Dr. Wheelo strengthens Perfect Cell as he implies he's more intelligent than Jiro. Kinda makes sense if Dr. Wheelo specializes in biotechnology more than Dr. Wheelo, given that Perfect Cell is a literal bio-android. Regardless, despite both teaming up against Goku, they get defeated and are eventually sent back to the other world. And now we transition to his most blatant buff I've ever seen for a DBZ character. And that is the multiversal fever dream of Dragon Ball Heroes, starting with World Mission. Dr. Wheelo makes another minor appearance where the player avatar is tasked with locating missing time patrollers. The avatar eventually finds Zeno Goten and helps him with his mission to resolve a time anomaly, that being the arrival of Dr. Wheelo and his crew, wanting their bodies rather than Goku's. Though as per gameplay logic, they end up losing and get sent back to where they came from. And by the way, a minor video note, Garlic Jr. is also given a similar game event and the same thing plays out during his mission. I bring this up because I failed to mention it in my Garlic Jr. video. So to any of his fans out there, I just want to say sorry not sorry. Finally, we'll end it off with his game, anime, and manga appearance in Super Dragon Ball Heroes. Dr. Wheelo appears during the Big Bang mission arc where we see for the first time how he potentially looked like when he was still alive. Thanks to a demon scientist named Fu, Wheelo is taken from his reality and is sent to face off against Zeno Goku and Vegeta. In the manga version, Zeno Vegito as a Super Saiyan was able to overpower Dr. Wheelo, considering it a boring fight. However, Dr. Wheelo turns the tide and says fighting Zeno Vegeta is boring. Out of frustration and obligations, both Saiyans went straight into Super Saiyan 4, and yet Dr. Wheelo managed to keep up with their increased speed. He even absorbed the combined blast of both Saiyans. This is an insane feat since a while back, Zeno Goku was ordered to not transform as his ki was so massive it could have impacted the very time-space he was in. That was simply from powering up, as in his base form, he scales to transcended Demigra, a being who can destroy the infinite multiverse and the real-life world. Demigra, who in his base form is the arch nemesis to Chronoa, the supreme Kai of time, was strong enough to hold the infinite multiverse from collapsing and part of Demigra's action. Not to mention fast enough to travel across different eras through her sheer speed that she can apply during combat, all of which Demigra and other heroes characters can also scale to. For the anime version, it plays out very similarly, only this time both Saiyans go into Super Saiyan 3, and Dr. Wheelo can still dodge their attacks. He was only able to damage the two fighters only due to his unique surprise attack. Dr. Wheelo still absorbs the combined blast as well. This only further supports the idea that Dr. Wheelo can scale to the Heroes cast if he can contain such an insane amount and level of power. We find out that Wheelo uses the Saiyan's energy to recreate and enhance the power of Janemba. He does watch his creation face off against the Heroes, but ultimately, Janemba gets killed off and Dr. Wheelo escapes for the anime, games, and manga. He returns during the New Universe arc, where after quite a few conflicts happened, Dr. Wheelo shows off his newest upgraded cybernetic body that I guess he had this whole time covered by his skin. He tragically gets defeated in seconds by Gohan Super Saiyan form in the anime. In the manga version, it plays out very differently. Instead, Dr. Wheelo battles Krillin and curb stomps him very much like in the movie. Though thankfully for Krillin, a warrior named Hearts saves him just in time. Dr. Wheelo does give both fighters a hard time, but after Krillin manages to regain his confidence by relying on his trickery along with Heart's teamwork, Dr. Wheelo gets blindsided and eventually gets his literal brain smashed. Despite his apparent death, Dr. Wheelo returns once again in the next arc, the Super Space Time Tournament arc, teaming up with his old crew of villains again. In the anime version, he supposedly faces off against Vidro, but sadly Wheelo gets off screen quickly. In the manga version, his team ends up winning the first round, moving into the second round, and he gets into a rematch between the Xeno Saiyans. Due to their growth since their previous encounter, Xeno Vegeta uses his Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 and easily outmatches Dr. Wheelo's previous data and gets knocked out hard, proving that despite his capacity in absorbing their energy, Dr. Wheelo at max doesn't scale to the higher tiers of heroes characters, at least during this particular arc. That ultimately wraps up Dr. Wheelo's entire career throughout the franchise. To summarize everything, Dr. Wheelo is indeed perhaps the weakest movie villain out of the original 13 films. Regarding his movie scaling, using feats only, he scales anywhere from city block level low-balled, multi-city block mid-balled, to small town level high-balled, at least based on him destroying an unknown sized woodland area. But of course, when you include his scaling and lore of being able to destroy Earth, he gets a massive buff. Since Dr. Cochin states he can turn the Earth into a desert, low-balled he can reach multi-continental level of power. Mid-ball he'll be planet level if Dr. Wheelo at full power can indeed obliterate Earth into nothing. Then for those hardcore fans who want to know his peak, high-balled he goes no further than small star plus level, since that is the max in terms of destroying Earth on a subatomic level. Unless we get more info to imply he's capable of being stronger than being a mere planet buster, this is as far as he goes without relying on pure headcanon. In terms of speed, it gets a bit funky if I'm gonna be honest. The absolute low-balled interpretation for his combat speed is Supersonic Plus, simply due to scaling above the likes of Krillin, who can dodge a high-caliber machine gun or Gatling gun. Mid-balled, he's high hypersonic or higher, ranging within the several dozens of times faster than sound if Dr. Wheelo's blast can hit ground level from space, and since the heroes can casually reach the stratosphere in mere seconds. Highball, the most you could probably place him is at sub-relativistic speed, since there is little evidence to suggest Wheelo has any light speed level for combat. Not to mention, it really depends how far out into space he reached. If you think perhaps he was far above the stratosphere and maybe reached the mesosphere, thermosphere, or max exosphere distance. Admittedly, this level leans a bit on headcanon, so don't take my claims too seriously, but just note that given the little number of speed feats presented, this is as far as it can go. As for Dragon Ball hero scaling, it gets a bit questionable at times given that he does scale to the speed of the Xeno Saiyans, but not necessarily their power. Granted, he did successfully absorb a combined attack from 2 Super Saiyan 4s, so you can simply argue he was holding back for the sake of his plans, as opposed to specifically taking them out on his own. Even if he doesn't scale to their higher forms, Dr. Wheelo can still reach their base forms if he can at all damage them, at least within the anime version. As such, Dr. Wheelo reaches Multiversal Plus low-balled, as I already broke down Xeno Goku scaling as being comparable to Demigra and Chronoa's infinite multiversal feats. Mid-ball to high-ball depends on how far you want to get into Dragon Ball dimensional scaling, since not everyone agrees with how Hero's cosmology is defined as. Since we're not just talking about the standard Universe 7, but also the Time Nest, Crack of Time, Real World, Demon Realms, and so on, placing him to complex multiversal to peak hyperversal level, meaning that Hero's version Dr. Wheelo could be 5th dimensional to max a 12th dimensional powerhouse. Again, it's a heated debate regarding hero scaling, so at least be aware he should consistently be infinite 4D in power low-balled, and anything above that is up to you, the viewers, to decide. Finally, for speed, we know for sure he's massively faster than light, given the way Heroes is constructed as a composite source, and would naturally put these characters at their peak speed. Though if you do agree that Dr. Wheelo can scale to the likes of Xeno Goku, who can scale to that of Chronoa, he stupidly reaches infinite speed mid-ball to immeasurable speed high-ball, since obviously going through any point in time would break the speed formula. Trust me, putting Dr. Wheelo this high up is stupid for me to say, but if he can speed blitz even Super Saiyan 4 Xeno Goku or Vegeta in the anime or or manga, it really checks out. I'll admit, scaling Dr.Wheelo was more interesting given the technical realism of his feats compared to most of the villains I've done up to this point. He's not my personal favorite, but I say that again, considering he had to work with raw intelligence to reach these levels is indeed impressive and something not to be overlooked. Will he come back again though? Who knows, but I still say that it was still cool to give Goku a unique villain as opposed to relying on the more fan favorite concepts of say an android, Saiyan, Frieza race, or godlike enemy. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Let me know what you think Dr.Wheelo as a character and how strong you think he is. As of the release of this video, I'm halfway through the Rogues Gallery, so look forward to more movie scaling if you're invested in getting a deep dive into their power. Have a nice day everyone. As always, it's all in good fun, so until then, see y'all next time.